post it on my new YouTube channel and share it. And read it out loud to you in the ASMR fashion. 1.2.9 Python implementation. I've already read this to myself, but I don't mind rereading it. Python implementations. In addition to Python 2 and Python 3, there is more than one version of each. Following the Python wiki page, an implementation of Python refers to a program or environment which provides support for the execution of programs written in the Python language, as represented by the CPython reference implementation. The traditional implementation of Python, called CPython, is Guido van Rossum's reference version of the Python computing language, and is most often called just Python. When you hear the name CPython, it's most probably used to distinguish it from other non-traditional alternative implementations. But first things first, there are the Pythons which are maintained by the people gathered around the PSF, Python Software Foundation, a community that aims to develop, improve, expand, and popularize Python and its environment. The PSF's president and Guido van Rossum, or that could be Rossum himself. And for this reason, these Pythons are called canonical. They are also considered to be reference Pythons, as any other implementation of the language should follow all standards established by the PSF. Guido van Rossum used the C programming language to implement the very first version of his language, and the decision is still in force. All Pythons coming from the PSF are written in the C language. Excuse my roommates in the background. There's nothing nothing I can do about it but continue. My education comes first before thinking of the noise that they make in the background. I really, really, really want to learn Python so bad. There are many reasons for this approach. One of them, probably the most important, is that thanks to it, Python may be easily ported and migrated to all platforms with the ability to compile and run C language programs. Virtually all platforms have this feature, which opens up many expansion opportunities for Python. This is why the PSF implementation is often referred to as C Python. Let me read that again. This is why the PSF implementation is often referred to as C Python. This is the most influential Python among all the Pythons in the world. Interesting. Click the images to learn more about the members of the Python family and some of the most popular Python alternative implementations. C Python. C. Cthon. That's what that looks like to me. C. But this is the logo for Python, so that would be C Python. Cython. It is Cython. C. Cython. Interesting. Cython. Cython is one of a possible number of solutions to the most painful of Python's traits. The lack of efficiency. Large and complex mathematical calculations may be easily coded in Python, much easier than in C or any other traditional language. But the resulting code execution may be extremely time-consuming. The resulting code execution may be extremely time-consuming. How are these two contradictions reconciled? One solution is to write your mathematical ideas using Python. And when you're absolutely sure that your code is correct and produces valid results, you can translate it into C. Certainly, C will run much faster than pure Python. That's pretty interesting. Python is intended to do to automatically translate the Python code clean and clear, but not too swift, and to C code complicated and talkative but agile. It's dinner time. My roommates eat dinner late. I started eating dinner an hour ago. I still have a little bit on my plate, but my intermission is over with right now, so I'm back to studying. That was nice, huh? Python. This is local here. It looks like a warm cup of tea or coffee. Python. Another version of Python is called Jython. J is for Java. That's like JavaScript, I'm assuming. Imagine a Python written in Java instead of C. This is useful, for example, if you develop large and complex systems written entirely in Java and want to add some Python flexibility to them. The traditional C Python may be difficult to integrate into such an environment, as C and Java lie in completely different worlds and don't share many common ideas. Jython can communicate with existing Java infrastructure more effectively. Jython can communicate with existing Java infrastructure more effectively. This is why some projects find it useful and necessary. This is why some projects find it useful and necessary. Note, the current Jython implementation follows Python 2 standards. There is no Jython conforming to Python 3 so far. PyPy. The PyPy logo is a rebus. Can you solve it? It means a Python within a Python. In other words, it represents a Python environment written in Python, like language named RPython, restricted Python. The PyPy logo is a rebus. Can you solve it? It means a Python within a Python. In other words, It represents a Python environment written in Python-like language named RPython, restricted Python. It is actually a subset of Python. There's a knot in my room. I'm gonna get a python to eat it. By the way, my name is Angel. Well, come back. The source code of PyPy is not to run in the interpretation manner, but is instead translated into the C program language and then executed separately. This is useful because if you want to test any new feature that may be, but doesn't have to be, introduced into mainstream Python implementation, it's easier to check it with PyPy than with SciPy. CPython. I need to reread that again. This is useful because if you want to test any new feature that may be, but doesn't have to be, introduced into mainstream Python implementation, it's easier to check it with PyPy than with CPython. This is why PyPy is rather a tool for people developing Python than for the rest of the users. This doesn't make PyPy any less important or less serious than CPython, of course. In addition, PyPy is compatible with Python 3 languages. In addition, PyPy is compatible with the Python 3 language. There are many more different Pythons in the world. You'll find them if you look, but this course will focus on CPython. MicroPython. Okay, so 1.2.9 Python implementations. I've done all this so far. 60%. And I still yet have all that to go. I probably won't record the whole thing, but I'm just gonna keep going before I take my next intermission. Maybe I should break this up into sections. It's been 19 minutes and 57 seconds and counting. 20 minutes. Not bad for my first time recording. That's my personal opinion. Okay. MicroPython. I never heard of MicroPython before, or CPython to be quite frank. efficient open source software implementation of Python. 3. That is optimized to run on microcontrollers. It includes a small subset of the Python standard library, but is largely packed with a large number of features such as interactive prompt or arbitrary precision integers. MicroPython is an efficient open source software implementation of Python 3 that is optimized to run on microcontrollers. It includes a small subset of the Python standard library, but it is largely packed with a large number of features such as interactive prompt or arbitrary precision integers, as well as modules that give the programmer access to low-level hardware. Originally created by Damien George, an Australian programmer who in the year 2013 ran a successful campaign on Kickstarter and released the first MicroPython version with an STM32F4 power development board called PyBoard. In 2017, MicroPython was used to create CircuitPython. How many Pythons are there? Boy, oh boy. In 2017, MicroPython was used to create CircuitPython, another one open source programming language that runs on the microcontroller hardware, which is a derivative. I've never heard that word before. Okay. Derivative of the MicroPython language. Maybe I should read that again. In 2017, MicroPython was used to create CircuitPython, another one open source programming language that turns on the microcontroller hardware, which is a derivative of the MicroPython language. Let me look at that logo again. MicroPython. Okay. Show me more stuff. I'm scrolling. 1.3, section 3. Downloading Python. Downloading and installing Python. Well, I guess I'm done with this section, so I guess I have to go to the next. Go to 1.3, section 3, downloading and installing Python. Yay. Oh, what did I do wrong? What did I do right? Save progress. Course progress is not saved. Please click here to save our progress. Well, this is where I have to stop recording because I don't know what personal information will be provided to me right here. Huh. But boy, did I have fun reading this with you guys. If there's anyone watching, or if this is even able to be downloaded on YouTube on my channel. I hope it does. I hope I can do it. Anyhow, thank you for listening.